And we'll move from the best deals to potentially the worst deals of the window, or albeit, Pete, of course, you just said there have only been 18 deals, so it's it might be more challenging.
The biggest one's just happened. I can officially break on Football Insider. The biggest deal of the January window has just happened. Lewis Hamilton has signed for Ferrari. There you go.
That might be it. There we go. Look, we're crossing over sports now. We've gone from football to F1. Pete, if we try and sort of pinpoint maybe the lack of deals, that might be a more realistic route to go down. Do you think actually potentially we could say that this transfer window has been less exciting than previous windows because of the lack of spending?
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely been less exciting. There's no doubt about that. Normally, January is called dry January when everybody goes off the excess of alcohol from Christmas and everything. I think it's been dry January in the transfer window. It's been that dry. There hasn't been anything really of note. No money being spent. I think last time I looked, it was like just over 50 million spent, when last January was 700 odd spent, and that was probably due to Chelsea obviously splashing the cash again for any of their big moves as well. It's been a disappointing window, but that's, for the fans' perspective, it's been disappointing because we haven't seen a lot of money spent or big names arriving into the Premier League. But I think that's due to the effects of FFP and PSR. We've all seen what's happened to Everton and Nottingham Forest, being charged for breaching those PSR rules and facing points deductions as well. Everton already hit with that 10-point deduction, and that's really hurt them this season, because if they had those 10 points, they'd be a lot higher up the Premier League table and wouldn't be involved in a relegation fight, but that's where they find themselves in. So clubs are now having to be careful and just can't go out there and splash the money, even if they wanted to. If you look at Newcastle's perspective, they have got the money to spend, obviously owned by the Saudi PIF fund, so they've got money to spend, but unable to do it now due to these FFP constraints. So it's a difficult one. Clubs, I think, are now being a bit more savvy and a bit more wary of overspending and having squads that are too bloated and too many players on their books. So that's what's probably made this January window a lot quieter than normal and not a lot of money exchanging hands.
Paul, are you worried going forwards into the summer and potentially the next January transfer window this time next year that actually we could see a lack of spending entirely going forwards because of FFP?
Listen, not worried. It's a regulation that's been brought in for a reason. To the independent regulator, the Premier League don't want that. They're doing their very, very best to put these financial rules out there, and it just shows how many clubs are actually worried about it, who are towing the line closely. I mean, we've seen that the Premier League have shown the teeth with Everton, and they've done it again with Everton again and Forest. So we're yet to see the outcome of that. And I think the clubs have now taken it's almost, the boss has growled and everybody's gone, oh, hang on a minute, we need to get our shop in order first. And I mean, if you look at the window, like Pete says, I mean, 50 million this season, 780 last season, 332 the season before. The lowest ever window was 84. So we're looking at possibly the lowest ever window. And I mean, you look at the big clubs in the window: Arsenal, no one; Chelsea, no one; Liverpool, no one; United, Manchester United, no one; Newcastle, no one. And then you look at the list. I was doing it this morning. You look at the list of the clubs, club by club, incomings and outgoings. There's a majority of the clubs that have brought nobody in, but there's more than 5 to 7 players that have left the clubs, which is that tells you the story in itself of the window. It's all about deflating your squad, getting rid of excess wages that you don't need, basically getting your shop in order while trying to improve your squad if you can.
Yeah, no, that is absolutely spot on. And Pete, I'm intrigued. Is this the quietest January window you've ever experienced working in terms of upcoming deals and news? Because it does just feel that actually there really hasn't been a lot. I mean, obviously there hasn't been a lot going on at all, but it's even in terms of rumours generally, haven't really been, especially from what Paul's just said there, if you regard the top 6 and most Premier League sides, there haven't really been many incomings at all.
Yeah, it's been one of the quietest ones. Probably the other quiet one was the one just during COVID times, which for obvious reasons, there wasn't a lot of money being spent then or a lot of players moving. So probably this one and the COVID one was probably the quietest windows, but I just think it's a sign of the times. Due to the PSR rules, clubs are running scared of it right now. They don't want to have any problems with the regulators, that they might end up getting points deductions in that respect as well. And obviously some of the fees that clubs are demanding for players these days is going through the roof, so it's making harder and harder for some of these potential moves to happen. Like we talked earlier in the show, for Chelsea to be demanding such a big price tag for Amanda Broja, who's not really done it in a Chelsea shirt, sort of makes you scratch your head, I think, in that respect. And then to be demanding a loan fee to let him go as well. Obviously, we know Chelsea are trying to balance their books, but clubs, even Premier League clubs, aren't going to be willing to pay that type of fee for a player like that. They'll just go elsewhere. So, yeah, it's been a difficult window. You speak to a lot of people, clubs, agents, everything else. They've found it difficult this year trying to generate interest in players as well. But I think clubs now, as I said, just don't want to overstock on players and have loads of players sat on the books not playing, and probably trying to streamline their squads going forward and everything else. So yeah, it's been a difficult window, but I do imagine that obviously none of the big boys have done any business in this window, but they're probably keeping their powder dry for the summer, and I'm sure we'll still see record spending in the summer like we did last summer.
You've just watched a segment from Football Insider's brand new podcast, The Inside Track, with me, Lewis Pearce, alongside the guests on the show. Thanks very much for tuning in. Please do give the video a like, comment your thoughts on the topic, and feel free to share on your social media pages. If you want to listen to the full podcast episode, click the link in the description below. Keep your eyes peeled for plenty more content and exclusives here on The Inside Track.